Good evening, everybody. So let's do a quick exercise because you've been sitting for about an hour and 15 minutes. Just raise your hands straight up and stretch. We're talking about regional innovation clusters, and I would want to share with you some of the things that we've done in the state of Maryland around this. So we're going to go around the world of cybersecurity in the next 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and you can time me. So I started this job 2 years and 2 months ago, almost to the date. The first conversation I had with Governor O'Malley was around the idea of a competitiveness agenda. And specifically what I meant and what we talked about was 3 general principles. We cannot be all things to all people. So first off, focus on the areas where you have unique competitive advantages and strengths. The second thing is give up on the premise that government can do it alone. You need to involve multiple stakeholders to move your agenda. And the third is whatever we pick, we want to market it to the world. We want to tell the world that we are the best, whether it might be cybersecurity or biotech. And today, we're here to talk about cybersecurity. So, why did we decide to focus on cybersecurity? If you look at it at a high level, for us, I see somebody on an Apple computer there. I was on my PDA before. Everything that we do is connected to a computer network. And the fact is that the defense of our country, the areas where we have the greatest vulnerability isn't our smart bombs or our planes or our bombers or our tanks. It's the networks that connect to them. And so we have a national security issue here, and at the same time, we have a big, big, big business opportunity in front of us. If you look at the cybersecurity market on the Fed side, what you're looking at is roughly $8.6 billion in 2010. That will go to $13.3 billion by 2015, and that's just the federal component of the spend here. And obviously, there's a big market opportunity that we see there. Now, the fact is, whoop-de-doo, you got a great business opportunity. Why do we care? Why is this relevant to Maryland? Now, I'm going to give you some data on why I think Maryland's the epicenter for cybersecurity and has the opportunity to remain so. But given the strengths, given the assets, something that the governor will say all the time is we don't only have an opportunity to grow jobs here, but we frankly, given the strengths and assets in our state, we have a patriotic duty to seize this opportunity. So what do we got? The fact is, if you add up everything there, you have a unique ecosystem of talent, of key federal facilities on the cusp of innovation. You have the university systems that are aligned to do this. You have the companies that have experience in cybersecurity already all there. Let's talk about some of these federal installations. Now, I hear our friends from the south of us talking about BRAC. We were the biggest gainers in the United States for BRAC. And many of those jobs, even though we're all connected, and I would argue that what we're doing in Mellon is close enough to Virginia where we will all benefit, but a lot of the jobs that were moved, specifically around cybersecurity, were moved to the state of Maryland. The National Security Agencies there, I would argue, invented cybersecurity. The Defense Information Systems Agency is being moved to Fort Meade. C4ISR and all the work they do in communications is being moved to Aberdeen. The new Cyber Command is being stood up at Fort Meade. NIST, that sets the standards and protocols for cybersecurity, is in Maryland. The infrastructure from the federal government side, if you're looking at where you got your people, talents, money being spent, is being spent in a very narrow band. And much of that is in the state of Maryland. If you look at our university systems and the amount of research that we attract, we are #1 in sponsored research in the United States. If you took total dollars, we're #2. And we only have 2% of the American population. We blow everybody out of the water when it comes to the amount of research and innovation that occurs in the state of Maryland for the size of a state that we are. And so a lot of that is tied to what we're doing in cybersecurity. And all the companies, if you went through a list of who's who, they're already there. So a lot of the infrastructure that we need to do this exists. The question is, we have all these things. What do we do about it? And so we started what we called our competitiveness initiative. Now that is really very similar to the regional innovation cluster, but the idea is that once we identify an area like this, what do? We convene the relevant stakeholders. We try to understand what assets do we have in better granularity and how strong are they. We ask the question of what are our biggest challenges, what are our biggest opportunity, and perhaps most importantly, when we're done talking, how does this translate into measurable policy that we can execute against? And this is the biggest challenge I've seen in a lot of communities. Everybody gets together to talk, as Barry said, but at the end of the day, you got a great report, but where's the checklist for what was done? And where's the running tally on what we did? So for us, it clusters in 4 areas. Education, number 1. This is about workforce. This is about the smartest people on the planet trying to solve very, very difficult problems. And for us, there's a tremendous amount of work that we need to do in order to be able to claim that mantle of being the epicenter for cybersecurity. Number 2, innovation. Frankly, we are so good at basic research and discovery. This is about how do we translate that innovation into commercial ventures. Third, leadership. It's not enough to say that we're really good at all these things, but as a state, are we seizing the mantle at a state governmental level to do everything that we can to keep our own network safe, to really be leaders alongside industry and the federal government? And the 4th is around communication. If you did all this and you didn't tell anybody, well, guess what? It's like it never happened. For the simple reason that the folks that you want to attract and the investments that you seek will come from far away, as likely as it will come from inwards, from your regional market. So, I mean, for us, branding and communications is a key aspect. So let's talk through the priorities. Priority 1, support the creation and growth of innovative cybersecurity technologies in Maryland. Now, top of our list here was a National Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity. It doesn't exist yet. We wanted to create it. We worked closely with our delegation. Senator Barbara Mikulski took a lead in championing this. We actually had language in the appropriations in the 2011 budget, but we all know what's happening with that. And so we're working very much united with our delegation to push for the creation of a national center. We believe it should be in Maryland, and we've already outlined a map for what we think this center should do. Clearly, we had gotten some headway down the road, and we hit the budget situation. The second thing is tech transfer. We just signed an MOU with NSA, specifically focused on this. The third is providing the capital for these new innovative young companies to grow. We proposed a $100 million venture capital program that's in the last stages of our legislative process. It's called Invest Maryland, and much of that investment we would imagine would be going towards cybersecurity companies. 4th, incubation. We just created the first incubator at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, in partnership with Northrop Grumman, specifically around cybersecurity. So that was priority 1. Priority 2, develop an educational pipeline to train new cybersecurity talent and advance workforce development. I can't stress how important this is. And where's Brian Darmody from the University of Mellon? Brian, good to see you, and we appreciate the university's leadership on this. The fact is, we need to align our programs to deliver a heck of a lot more trained professionals, because that's our number 1 issue. We cannot fill the jobs that are currently coming. We have a deficit in the number of people that these companies and these organizations seek to hire that are qualified to take those jobs. So, from priority 2, what we've done at a system-wide level in partnership with the University System of Maryland is to start the process of inventorying all the degree programs that are available for cybersecurity and look at how we can coordinate and align that. Number 2, we've also provided grant money for not only the colleges and universities, but the community colleges to align the programs around cybersecurity, and this is being done with some of the BRAC money that we've got. Number 3, I want to also acknowledge University of Maryland College Park, because they've gone so far as to create a Maryland Cyber Center where they're pulling all of their cyber disciplines kind of under a virtual center to create an organized agenda. A lot of things going on in higher ed for us in moving that agenda forward. Priority 3, which is really for the state to take a national leadership role in following the federal government and partnering in moving the agenda forward. Now, the challenge here is the federal government's got a tremendous amount of bills that are pending on this issue, and so we don't want to get ahead of them, and therefore we are we're in a little bit of a hurry up and wait scenario here, but we're monitoring all of them, and we intend to be state leaders in following their lead. The last priority, and then what we were talking about before around communication, ensure the sustained growth and future competitiveness of Maryland's cybersecurity industry. Well, the fact is that as we're bringing all these different puzzles and parts together, we need to make sure that we put Maryland on the map as the epicenter for cybersecurity. There's a report, Michelle, can you get that report out of my binder there? There's a report that we put together on cybersecurity that embodied all of these recommendations. Maybe I let it fall out, but I would have held it up at this point in time, and it's right there. That we've promoted widely. So far, 10,000 people have picked up paper copies or downloaded it. So far, there's an excess of 400 articles around the world that have been written about Maryland being the epicenter for cybersecurity. And what we have coming in the pipeline is a $1 million advertising campaign that we're planning to follow on to take that message out to key markets. We need to let the most innovative people, most innovative companies know that if they want to work in cybersecurity, they need to come to our state, and we have a plan in place to make sure that we're not just talking about this, we're executing. So to the extent that any of the things that we've worked on can be helpful, we're more than happy to share, and we recognize that this is a regional agenda. This is not a statewide agenda. In fact, a lot of these things cross to the district, obviously with the work at DHS and to the state of Virginia.
Great, thank you so much. If you could just stay there for a second, I'm going to ask the other panelists to come up to the table because we're going to really open it up to all of you now in a second. But while they're making their way to the table, Secretary, there's a lot of interest in Prince George's County in terms of its economic revitalization. They're looking to channel some HUD Sustainable Communities Challenge Grant, transit-oriented development around the Green Line and so forth. Do you see any opportunities to link what Prince George is trying to do in terms of its transit-oriented development, particularly with the proximity to St. Elizabeth's around cybersecurity?
Well, sure. I mean, if you use Fort Meade, NSA, and the model that we built up around there, what you find is for these kinds of ventures, generally the customer prefers, in which case is NSA, and in this case here over here would be DHS, they prefer proximity. Proximity on a lot of these contract awards. And so if you look at NSA as a model and the companies that have sprung up surrounding it, I believe that the areas that put in the infrastructure to enable that transportation back and forth are going to win. And so we're clearly bullish on that and on Prince George's County.